Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Live Show with Alan and Greg. And today we have a guest, Jim from Mystery and Mayhem. How's it going, Jim?
Hey, Jim.
It's going well, guys. Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing?
It's really nice. We had a cold morning out here in Virginia.
It's been cold here too.
But you're in Canada.
Yeah, it's a little chilly here.
I'm up in Hamilton, and usually I can have the windows open, but I've had to close them today because it's pretty cold coming in. But no snow yet. We had a little bit of snow, but not much.
Really?
Yeah, Portland might get snow next weekend.
So you've had no snow all year?
No, like I said, we've had like a dusting. Maybe like it was the green Christmas. We had no snow then. We just had a little bit of a dusting of snow maybe last night. Just enough to, you get the brush in the car, just a couple of brushes and it's fine. But no snow.
Is that unusual?
Lately it's not unusual, actually. The winters have kind of been like that. I think it's not like the weather we used to have years ago. We used to get like just dumped on. And God, I can't remember the last time we had a white Christmas, maybe last year or the year before. So yeah, times are changing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But as I said, I was out for my morning walk and I had to it was like 29 degrees when I went out, but by the time I got back, it was like up in the 40s. So it's pretty good.
Oh yeah. You took your cat for a walk?
To be walking for me. 29.
Actually, my cat is getting very picky about when he goes out. He will howl at the door to be let out. So I put him in his harness, take him outside, and it was like a couple of days. It was like 28 degrees, and he walked out to the front stoop and looked, and then he just walked right back in. He says, "I'm not going out in that."
Yeah,
really?
Titty.
I don't blame him.
Sounds like me.
Yeah. All right, we got Gareth. Hey, Gareth.
Hi, Gareth.
And we got William from William's Library.
Hey, William.
Oh, here's Gareth. We had a hit of snow today. A bit of snow. Snow. That's rare, and it usually only lasts a little while. But you're in Portsmouth. I don't really know the Portsmouth weather, so I can't say. Okay, so Jim, as I said, we usually start off the show with just people talking about what they've been reading recently or things they want to show. So as a guest, you get to show yours first.
Okay. Well, I just finished this one, Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. And I just finished it the other day, actually. I've got a review up on Goodreads, but it was an interesting book. I mean, I've been meaning to read it for a long time, and I'm glad I read it. But, it was not what I expected, but there was a lot about, culture and society, the consumerism and industrialization and the man that Lady Chatterley, he's the groundskeeper, and she has an affair with this man. And somewhere towards the end of the book, he gets he gets found out and he gets run out of town on a rail because his wife finds out, his ex-wife and it's almost like a little social media, a little cancel culture there. He was fired, run out of town. It's just, there was a lot of parallels to stuff that goes on today. So it was a very interesting book. But I mean, it was tame. I don't really know what I expected for the the sex scenes or anything, but it was a very tame book compared to today's standards, which is fine. But it was an enjoyable book.
I agree.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No. You go ahead.
I heard about it like in high school, about Lady Chatterley's Lover, the famous dirty book. And I never read, but I always expected it to be like Penthouse Forum. I don't know if you ever read, just total graphic, total,
Yeah, you're disappointed.
One of them ran an excerpt from it, if I remember correctly, way back in the day. but I wonder if it was more, naughty because of the dirty words, not necessarily because of the, what went on between the two of them. Because we were talking about that beforehand. There was a lot of four-letter words in there, and heaven forbid we want any kids to read any four-letter words.
No. Well,
Yeah.
I was talking to MJ. She read it recently, and I kind of agree. I think one of the reasons it was banned, it was a woman taking control of her own sexuality.
Yeah.
Right.
And she says, "I'm in charge of myself," and
she was sleeping with a man beneath her station. She was the lady of the manor and of the town, and he was just a groundskeeper, and that wasn't done.
I know.
And that explains, why it was banned in the 20s, because there were still kind of Victorian sensibilities about, around at that time, even though it was, Victorian age was over. But I mean, we in Canada, we banned it in the 60s, it wasn't allowed over here. So that wouldn't have been for that reason. Like the only reason I can think they would have banned it in Canada in the 60s was for the swear words.
Maybe so. I mean, when you read about why books get banned now, it's some of it is just for the strangest reasons, and you can read about other historical books that were banned, and it's like it's just totally lame. A lot of it is just individuals going out and saying, "I don't want my kids to read that." And
yeah. I also just finished reading the 10-Cent Plague about about the comic books and the seduction of the innocent, and they banned and they burned the comic books in 1954, 1955, and it's the same thing there. I mean, there was people in the Senate, testifying, well, this isn't affecting kids at all, and yet still there was like witch hunts for these comic book creators and the comic books, and they gathered them all up and they burned all these comic books, really for no good reason whatsoever.
We lost your voice for a second. Yeah, we can't quite hear you right now. Just lost his voice. Oh wait, got you back for a second.
Yeah, it seemed to turn itself off there.
What
was the last thing you heard from me?
Well, I read the 10th Plague 10 years ago, somewhere around. It was like really fascinating about.
Yeah, it was.
And it's a really good book, probably for talking about banned books in 2024, because, like you said, why were people so concerned over these comics? And they eventually implemented the comics code because of that.
Yeah. There was an early version of the comics code, but it really didn't do anything. And then they just came up with the one that they had for decades, which didn't do anything.
What's the comics code?
The Comics Code Authority was a self-regulating authority where whatever stories or comics were written, they'd send it to the Comics Code Authority so that they could look it over. There's a whole list of things they could and couldn't do in comics. So, I mean, the last 10 or 20 years, it wasn't doing much of anything anyway, And finally, I think they just got rid of it because, I mean, they started ignoring it. Stan Lee started ignoring it. He did that famous Spider-Man issue, the drug use issue, and they said, well, we can't run this. We can't show drug use in a comic. And he said, well, the heck with it. We'll just run it without the little comic code, square in the cover. And he went ahead and did it. And there was no repercussions. And then people just started saying, well, the hell with it. Ignore it. Let's just start telling good stories again.
Yeah. So, and we'll go through the comments. Jim, was that for the banned books project?
Oh, well, I kind of had that in mind. I wasn't officially reading a banned book for that reason, but I thought, okay, I saw that book and I said, the banned book project is going on. Why don't I read this one? So kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad I read it.
and he's reading The Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson. I haven't read that one, but I've read a number of his other. He's a really good science fiction author.
I was going to say, is he a science fiction writer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, I've heard of him, but I've never read anything by him.
His
Me either.
most famous is the Mars trilogy about colonizing Mars and terraforming Mars.
Okay.
So it's actually very, I mean, for the time it was written, it was state of the art. This is how you would terraform Mars. Now it's going on maybe 20 years, so maybe he's a little outdated, but it's a great story of how people would react to a new planet and get along with everyone or not get along with people. Here's Bad. Hello, Bad. How's everyone doing this late evening? It's not
good.
that.
How are you?
Ooh, she likes your T-shirt, Alan. Alan, I'm loving that, Alan.
Thanks.
Dragons.
It's a green dragon.
Oh, Book Blather. What's this? 3 of the sexiest booktube voices in one place. Thank you.
Well, except for you, Dave. We're missing you here. You have to be a member of the quartet here.
Yeah.
And Gareth, apparently, because my wife loves Gareth's voice and accent. And she says next to mine, he's got the best voice.
All right. Alan, what have you been reading?
Well, let's see. Got this big brick I've been talking about for a couple months, War and Peace. Voxer Group. We're over the 200-page mark, so everyone's on the same page, as it were. Getting into the character names, everything. Then I'm reading this with Scott. Salman Rushdie. We're enjoying this. Magical realism, really funny too. Takes place in India. Then Greg and I and Al are reading the Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita. I was listening to an audiobook version of it, and he says, I can't quite do that. Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, I've got the Audible with that too. It's on Audible.
Yeah.
And then finally, go ahead, Greg.
I was about to say I have the paperback, same different version, but then the audiobook for $5. So I'm going. Audiobooks are not part of my 100 book challenge band, so $5.
Yeah,
get along with
There
it.
you go. Yeah, yeah.
And then I'm reading from a new
my
tarot deck.
ages ago.
I
I failed my challenge ages ago.
Well, you failed it?
I bought books. Yeah, pretty much. I tried to justify. I said, "Oh, my wife bought me some books, and I got some books on sale. There was a Christmas bazaar." But let's face it, I failed it long ago.
Right.
But I'm still going to read my 50 books.
Yeah, well, when I do this next year, I'm going to put another caveat in: is collectible books are exempted.
Yes.
Because if you come across a rare book that's $5 somewhere, it's like who is it? Roy reads anything held up a Baroness. One of those. If I saw that for $5, I'd totally have to buy it.
Yeah.
So the next year, collectibles it will be accepted. Although I have not been tempted yet with a collectible this year. But.
Well, I've just recently discovered these MX Sherlock Holmes books. There's like 45 in the series.
You mentioned those.
Yeah, and I went on Amazon. There was two of them on sale for like $15, whereas normally they're like $55. The hardcovers are more than that, and I got a hardcover and a paperback for $15 each. And I said, yeah, I have to do this because I want to get as many of them as I can. They're such great books. I've been reading a lot of them, the short stories. I'm on a bit of a Holmes kick right now. It's not even February yet.
Yeah. Now I have volume 2 of the collected novels and short stories. It has that one, The Hound of the Baskervilles, and it has The Valley of Fear. So I'll read those. In,
Alan, you've not read Sherlock Holmes before, have you?
No.
That's I probably wouldn't start with that volume. I would pick up volume 1.
Oh, okay.
I would probably Jim, you can correct me. I would do the first book, Study in Scarlet, or the story of Scandal in Bohemia was the place to start.
I mean, it doesn't matter, you know. Like I started with The Hound of the Baskervilles, but I mean, if you find you want to read through all of them, start with the Study in Scarlet, because that's when Holmes and Watson are introduced as friends, and it begins from there. And then Scandal in Bohemia, like Greg said, is the first short story. So I mean,
cool.
I don't know if I might have a spare copy here of that. I know I have the 2 volume sets, but I have another one, and I'm not sure if it's volume 1 or volume 2. But I'll find out, and if it's volume 1, I'll send you a copy. But again, I'm not too sure. Because that's
great.
That's
I appreciate that, Jim.
Yeah, you need those. You need those in your library. That's the canonical ones.
Also, well, I have them all on Kindle, where you can just buy all of Doyle for like 99 cents.
That's true. You could do that too. I try to avoid doing that.
Yeah, me too. I like Kindle all right, but I like physical books the best.
Oh, yep. Dave is going. Isn't that your second time through War and Peace? I believe it is.
Yes. Yeah, I've read the Anthony Briggs translation, that one. Then I've read the Maud husband wife team Maud translation of it. Yeah, one of the best books I've ever read.
Yeah. So Lee says, "Wow, you are finally back." Gareth, if you exempt book challenge books, then do about 6 book events. The challenge will be easy. Well. You know, I know Ollie did a no exemptions, but I'm also doing the Book 2 prize, and I come up right and says, look, I have to do the Book 2 prize because I won't even know what's on the prize until I'm in the middle of the challenge. So
yeah.
I just won't count them as a book towards the challenge if I have to buy them.
Yeah. Are you doing the challenge, Alan?
I already completed mine. I did 25.
Okay.
It took me about 2 months. Yeah, I was a reading fool. I'm retired and I'm an insomniac, so I have a lot of time to read, and I've been reading a lot, getting a lot done.
Well, I gave myself 50 books by the beginning of April, and I've been going a little slow, but I think I'm about 12 books in, so I should be okay. And that's me not reading as much as I could. You know, there's a lot of time when I'm not reading, so if I really clamp down and do some reading, I should be able to get them done by the beginning of April, no problem.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay. So what have I been reading? Well, I have just finished this. This is Johnny Got His Gun by Dalton Trumbo. I've got Dad in the audience where we are doing a buddy read with the literate Texan, so I won't go in. But this is now, Alan and Jim, are you familiar with this one at all?
I've heard the title. Really. I've never read it.
Yeah,
it's a really marvelous. First of all, he's an excellent writer, and it's the story of a World War I soldier who's lying wounded in a hospital bed. And you go in and out between his observations. And at the time, he's figured out he's had his ears blown up in a concussion, so he's deaf. He has bandages over his face, so he can't see anything.
Wow.
And then slowly you get to learn that he's actually more critically injured than that. And I don't want to necessarily give it all away, because there's one scene in here that's absolutely stunning because it's part of his memory, and he's talking about he's going off to the war and he's with his girlfriend, and he's hugging her for the train, and you get this, this image that you'd expect with soldiers, and then he says something about his injuries, and you're just going, "Oh my God!" And it gets.
Oh no, I don't even want to guess.
It's okay. It's worse than you think, and
Really?
it's just so amazing how well he could evoke this life before World War One. You really got into. I mean, you were there. He's a teenager doing teenage things, and then he's a critically wounded soldier. And it's just amazingly well written.
Yeah, God, they were all so young, eh? The soldiers, they were just young men,
They were.
And I picture my own kids. Yeah, unbelievable.
Because this is an anti-war novel. This was written. It was published in 1939, and it was the authors say we should have no war. And then World War II came around, and this book sort of got banned because they figured it was not appropriate to say war was a bad thing when America was going into World War II.
Well, they called World War One like the war to end all wars, right?
Yeah.
I think it was a Doctor Who episode, and the doctor he goes back in time or something, or brings a World War One soldier, and he mentions the Second World War, and you see the guy's face. He goes, Second World War, like they just couldn't fathom that they would, go to war like that a second time.
I know. Well, most, or not say most, a lot of people really say that World War I are really the same war. It just kind of had a break in between.
Yeah.
Intermission.
I've heard that.
And I'll leave that for historians to argue right or wrong. I don't know. But. So I highly recommend
it. I have all quiet on the Western Front. I have to. I keep meaning to read. I haven't read it yet.
I have that on the Western. I've read that before, and I have it on my Kindle to reread. If we do BookTube at War again in July, I might pick up World War I books. Last week, I also read a reread of this Fahrenheit 451, which was deliberately read for the Banned Books Project, because this is like the ultimate in banned.
Yeah, that's the temperature that paper burns at.
And I'm just surprised. Really, not only is it about banned, but it's really just a good story. Ray Bradbury was such a good author.
I love Ray Bradbury. I read that book years ago, like a long time ago. I think I was probably in school, but he's such a good author. I love Ray Bradbury.
Yep, I think that's like the third or fourth time I read that over a lifetime.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, I'm a big rereader. I just love to reread books.
Me too. I am too. With so many unread books, I keep rereading books, but
Yeah.
I understand. I have plenty of things. I know a lot of these books behind me, I will never read. Honestly, I will never get to them. But they're there for that day when there's some BookTube event that looks like that. You go, wait a second. You actually want me to read this book? It'll be there. It'll be there when it happens.
You never know. It's a library, and it's there, and you never know. You might have an opportunity.
What about this one, Greg?
We got to read that.
We got to read that. Yeah, Nettie got us to buy this book, and then she took off. So we both bought it, ready for a buddy read.
Yeah. Let me get through some of the comments. We don't get too far behind.
Good old Nettie.
All the Sherlock Holmes stories, all compiled in one book in my library.
Nice to read them that way, William. Yeah.
I have the unabridged audio version read by Stephen Fry.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Dave, he says, my daughter is getting rid of books. So she gave me a couple boxes to go through. Excuse me. Right now on top was a huge, beautiful copy of Holmes books. I may have read one in February after all. I may have to read one in February after all. Yeah.
Do it, Dave. Do it.
Do it.
It's a sign.
The thing is, a Holmes
That's
book,
the
depending how fast you can read, it's a night or two for the
Yeah.
novels.
Oh, a novel is. They're short novels, and a short story, I mean, you can read in a couple hours. Honestly, even an hour.
Yep.
Yeah. You got to join us, Dave.
You do. And if you haven't read one, like you said, Scandal, not Scandal, the Study in Scarlet is still. Now, do you have a preference for the novels, Jim? Which one do you think is his best overall novel?
Oh, the one I've read the most is Hound of the Baskervilles.
Okay.
You know, but I can't say which one is better. I don't know. I mean, The Study in Scarlet is a really good story too. It's hard to choose, but I'd probably have to say I know Randy wasn't a big fan of the Hound of the Baskervilles, but I enjoyed it, and that's mainly because I'm a big fan of Watson too. I mean, Watson takes the forefront of that novel. You know, and Holmes is kind of in the background. He doesn't play a big part through the main part of the novel. But I mean, Watson is as big a character as Holmes is, in my opinion. He's, you know, and yeah. So in that respect, I really enjoyed that book.
Now, see, what I did in February, I'm still kind of torn because I read The Study in Scarlet and Hound of the Baskervilles in 2022 for an event. So I said, okay, I really got to do a Sign of the Four or the Valley of Fear this year.
Yeah, yeah. You said you're doing Sign of the Four.
That's where I'm thinking Sign of the Four, but
yeah, that's probably the one I'm going to do as well.
all right.
But that's probably the one I've read least of the novels. Yeah, but between that one and the Valley of Fear, the one out of the two that I'd like to read is Sign of the Four.
Okay.
And that's got some pretty famous scenes in it too, you know. And it's
all I remember is there's the boating scene with the headhunter.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Hey, MJ, I'm sorry I haven't said hello to you, and you've been here for a while. Yeah, you've been here for 10 minutes and haven't said hello. But she knows what it's like going through comments on a live. Ariane Fowler, that book sounds really interesting. Sounds like it might be hard to read. I presume she may be talking about this one. It is kind of hard to read because the author doesn't use commas. Even when it punctuates the style to get you more into the flow of the narrative and not break it up. And whether he's successful or not is going to be up to interpretation.
He's from the Cormac McCarthy School of Writing, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, he was. This book was published in 1939, so a little before Cormac McCarthy.
So before. Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
So maybe Cormac McCarthy picked up from Dalton. Now, what's also I forgot to mention this this was his second novel, and he basically stopped writing novels. He was a screenwriter after this.
Well, he was the one who was on the blacklist in the 50s on the HUAC committee, Dalton Trumbo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Kirk Douglas went to bat for him.
He did. Well, he did. And it's really because, you know, back in the 30s, authors being communist was sort of common. It was like.
Well, they talked about that too. Satterley's Lover, like they called it Bolshevism, I guess, back then. But there was a lot of people who were kind of starting to go that way, you know, towards communism. So I think there was a lot of people who had that belief system.
It is. Well, I forgot where I read it. Is that in the 30s, no one really knew what was going on in the Soviet Union. It was just described as this ideal state, and people were drawn to that, not knowing what was going on in the back. And there's you probably heard of the author Richard Wright. He wrote Native Son.
Yeah.
Doesn't ring a bell for me.
And
No.
No, but it's a he's an African American who told the story of an African American boy who killed a girl, and it's just him trying to get away from prosecuted for murder. But Richard Wright was a communist when he wrote that, because it was back in the 30s. And then he wrote a book 20 years later.
Look at my beat up copy of Native Son.
I love it.
Go ahead, Greg.
Well, he wrote a book called The Outsider, and this is in Native Son, you have communist characters talking about how great communism is. And in his later book, he kind of grown up, because after World War II, he knew what was going on in the Soviet Union, and he was totally anti-communist in the later book. So it's just kind of an interesting progression of how an author grows in their political beliefs.
Yeah.
Here he is, Ariane. All Quiet on the Western Front is outstanding. I read it in November.
I really have no excuse there yet. I've got to read that book. I should have read it long before now.
I read it in the 80s, but it's a book that I need to reread again.
Yeah.
Oh, here's Gareth. End of World War I is part of the setup for World War II. Germany is punished to the degree that Hitler exploits. Yeah. MJ's here. The party can start now. Until she falls asleep. She's got to get up at 4:15 in the morning.
Hey, I might fall asleep while we're sitting here.
Well, Jim, if you got to go because of time, just let us know. Because
No. I'm good. I'm all good.
Because we usually say the show's an hour, but it usually goes an hour and a half, sometimes 2. So if you ever get to the point where you got to go, you just let me know that you got to go.
I'll keep it in mind. I'm all good. It's nice to chat with you guys.
Yeah. So, Almighty Ohm, without punctuation, like E.E. Cummings, you think the author of what you read. I think it makes you concentrate. Under
You have to really focus on it. And Cormac McCarthy, I read Hot and Cold and him. Like I read The Road and I loved it, but I tried to read Blood Meridian and everybody said it was a brilliant novel, and I'll probably have to give it another try, but I DNF'd it.
Wow.
You see, I was the exact opposite. I loved Blood Meridian, his early books.
Yeah, that's the copy I have.
Oh yeah, I love it. I've read it at least once.
But I love West.
I never really got into The Road. I mean, I thought his writing style had come down a bit, or should I say, he toned down his writing style for a popular book.
Mm-hmm. Now, I like No Country for Old Men. In that book, the character, Tommy Lee Jones's character, the sheriff, he would do, if you guys have read it, pardon me, but remember he did before the chapters, he would do all in italics, like a brief thing from the sheriff.
I didn't read that one. I saw the movie.
Yeah, No Country for Old Men is a line from Yeats from Sailing to Byzantium. Anyway,
I'll have to give Blood Meridian another chance. Everybody goes on about it, and it could be just that I just wasn't in the mood for it.
Yeah.
At that time, I don't know.
Well,
not into scalpings. But
when I first read it in the 90s, I didn't get through it the first time either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if there wasn't any Faulkner, there'd be no Cormac McCarthy either. In my opinion.
Who doesn't like Faulkner? Is it Michael K. Vaughan? He's not a big fan of Faulkner.
No, Steve Donahue.
Steve Donahue
maybe
doesn't
Steve
like
Donahue.
Faulkner. Michael K. Vaughan,
Yeah.
it's just not his type of book. I know what Michael K. Vaughan likes. Faulkner is just not going to cut it.
Well, he's a kindred spirit. He likes the same stuff I like pretty much.
Now the one Faulkner story Michael K. Vaughan might like is A Rose for Emily.
A Rose for Emily?
Do you know The Rose for Emily?
I've heard of it, yeah. Yeah.
That's one I think he could possibly get into.
Now, what's the premise of that?
Well, I don't want to give away the premise because it's a shocker. Once you get to the last line of the sentence.
Yeah.
But essentially, I can give the premise is it's set in the South after the Civil War. There is a woman who does not want to pay her taxes on a state because she feels as she's entitled because of her heritage not to pay taxes. Because the Civil War general says, Miss Emily, you're not going to have to pay taxes in this town. So she's ostracized in the town. And then you get whole complicated issues that she lives in. And then you get the last sentence of that story, and you're like, oh. Alan, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that Faulkner?
Faulkner. Yeah. A Rose for Emily.
Okay.
I'll take that. Same. Oh, hello, Courtney.
Hey, Courtney.
You too.
Hi, Courtney.
All right. People say I'm going to skip over people saying hi to each other. I'm going to go. E. Cummins wrote the word to my wife's song. My special song is "I Carry Your Heart" by Hedges. I guess I don't know that song. That's amazing. Beautiful song. It features Crosby and Nash on harmony. I agree without punctuation. Decide how to meet the author. And the lines. I love when people take it more than one way. Yeah, I do too. But it's a different way and a different. Some people just can't take it. They want to know the sentence means this. It could be this or that.
Well, I don't use punctuation like for I'm or like won't, or I'll use it for his and hers and that, of course. But I stopped using punctuation after I started reading Faulkner decades ago, just to copy him, just to be like Bill.
I'm a copy editor, so I'm a stickler for punctuation.
Yeah, well, I'm a grammar Nazi, but
for a reason.
Well,
Greg, did you receive that package?
Not yet, but you mailed it out of Canada, so it's gonna worm its way down here.
It should be there before February.
I think it'll be before February. It doesn't come overseas. Here's an interesting thing. You say you're a copy editor, and I've often found it fascinating about writing styles over the ages. I don't know if this is something you can talk about, for like a professional, but when I was in high school and going to all your writing classes, people say the average length for an English sentence should be 20 words. That's what we were taught in high school. And over the years, that sentence has gotten smaller and smaller. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
something.
Styles change, eh? Like you ever read Dickens? He just like one big run-on sentence. Like his sentences are so long, and then I think just the style just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Especially, I noticed that especially with like crime fiction and mystery fiction. You know, you want to shorten the sentences and make them impactful. You know, and but then if you're reading or if you're writing a different type of novel, you want those long, flowery sentences. But I guess it depends on what kind of fiction, what kind of writing you're doing. But I think the trend is going towards shorter and shorter sentences. But as a copy editor, like when I'm, and not all copy editors are like this, but I give the writer the benefit of the doubt. You know, like I'm not going to go change a lot of their writing, even though I'm supposed to, like with a newspaper. You know, but I tend to be a little bit more lax because you know the writer's got to have his voice too, right?
Right.
So it's the fine line.
Some of the famous authors would be happy with that. I remember reading that Ernest Hemingway was a notoriously bad speller, and so was Fitzgerald.
Really?
And Jane Austen. I looked up like famous bad spellers. The ones I mentioned: Hemingway, Gerald, Faulkner, and Hemingway, were all known for being really bad spellers.
Huh.
Yeah, John Kennedy
know that
as well.
And I guess Hemingway, well, he was feeding his someone, an editor. The editor says, Hemingway, pay more attention to your spelling. And Hemingway says, that's your job.
Yeah, that's what editors are for. Yeah, get all the technical things. They can fix all the technical stuff. I just want to tell a story. I just want to write the story. That makes sense. Yeah.
So here is MJ. Be sure to hit the like button for the Monday Night Fellows. Thank you, MJ. And Dr. Strange, man, it's 3:42 here. Can't sleep. Okay, so where would 2 a.m. be in the country? Is that correct?
Where did what?
What?
Oh, yeah.
Gareth is there. Gareth, it might be Gareth's time, or it might be a bit further out. Trying to figure out where it is and can't sleep. Okay.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Sorry, I'm hearing some feedback here for some reason. Not sure if it's my earphones or what.
Well, if you hold on for one moment, I'm going to mute you on my end in just a minute and see if it's on you or someone else.
Okay.
Oh no.
Oh,
yeah. I muted Alan by mistake. I'm not hearing
okay. I don't hear it now. It was like Charlie Brown's mother going wop 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 wop.
Yeah, Alan, I muted you by mistake instead of Jim. We think you're the source of the. Oh.
Who, me?
Yep.
Do you hear it?
I'm going to get my Wi-Fi back. Maybe I'll go with another company.
Yeah, maybe you get a mic. I don't know. All right. So, what other events are people? All of us are going to do the homes where the heart is. Are there any other events that people would like to advocate while we're here?
I'm just excited for Sherlock Holmes in February. I'm excited for it. I've been actually reading a lot of Sherlock Holmes right now, like a lot of short stories. So I'm looking forward to that. I got a good reaction on my. What's that?
Oh yes. Well, I'm also looking forward to the Holmes is where the heart is, but I'm looking forward to Horror Mayhem. Read some new horror books. Gareth turned me on to a couple, and so is Scott.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm doing Mayhem, and I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yep, and then Marky Mammoth too, where we get to read Shadowram. I don't know where it is. It's down there somewhere.
I do enjoy horror. On one of my episodes, I said I didn't like horror, but it was the extreme body horror kind of stuff, but I do enjoy reading horror, like more traditional.
Yeah, I don't like extreme horror either.
Yeah.
I don't like true crime. I love crime fiction, but I don't like true crime.
It's funny, true crime. I'm not a fan of true crime either, unless it's like old, like Jack the Ripper kind of stuff. Like Jack the Ripper.
Oh yeah.
Fascinating, but
it's more like history. Yeah.
It's the Victorian age, and I love the Victorian age, so that kind of fascinates me. But like modern crime, I'm not a huge fan of either.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't read a whole lot of crime. Sometimes it just seems very sensual, trying to get the sensation of the crime itself.
Right.
But you think about it, looks like in Cold Blood by Truman Capote, it's like the original true. I don't know if that's the original true crime, but it's a very
in the 70s, written in the 70s, like
50s. 50s.
Yeah, it's going back a ways.
I have it on my shelf somewhere. Yep, originally published 1965.
65. Yeah.
And
you
it was
enjoyed that?
probably based on a crime in the late 50s. So we're going to go back to Jack the Ripper because I know there's a question down here in the comments about Jack the Ripper. So I'm going to, Dr. Strange Freak is from Finland.
Oh, cool.
It is cool. That's what I really like about BookTube is that you're making friends all over the world.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
We got Finland. You got Indonesia, if William's Library is still here. You got Gareth from England. So people from everywhere.
You know what I just read about serial killers, which I thought was interesting, is there's a lot of lead in the water and in certain things, and they thought that maybe they could affect your brain somehow, the lead, and they think that maybe that was the onset of a lot of the serial killers in the 70s, 60s, and 70s and onward was from the lead in the water. I could be totally off conspiracy theory, but I thought that was interesting because all of a sudden you just had this spate of serial killers, in the decades, and I thought that was interesting.
Well, we've always had serial killers. I wonder if people just got better at identifying serial killers as time progressed.
It was probably easier to hide it back then as now, because we didn't really know about them, so they could probably hide in plain sight. Now they're, easier to track down nowadays.
Well, back at a time, if you were that killer, you could live in Cleveland for a few years. And then things got hot. You moved over to Minneapolis.
And the cops didn't know any better, and they just would, shrug it off. They wouldn't be communicating from one state to the other.
Yeah. All right, so let me get that because I have a question about Jack the Ripper coming up. I want to get into that. Wow, hello from the USA. Everyone's saying hi. Okay, here we go. From Marianne. Jim, have you read The Fog about the victim of Jack the Ripper?
No, I haven't.
That's a good book.
Who wrote that?
Yeah, Concentrating the Victims.
I can't remember the woman's name off the top of my head. But what it is, it's essentially about the 5 mini biographies. All
Yeah.
and it just showing us what a tough life women had in that age.
Oh my God, yeah.
Especially the ones who a lot of them fell into sex work, just because of the poverty of the situation.
There wasn't much choice for them back then, honestly. I mean, we as men think we had it bad, but women had it twice as bad. Honestly, just they didn't have much choice.
It was.
I have the Donald Rumbelow book on Jack the Ripper, which is kind of one of the more well-known books about.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the title. It got garbled.
It's by Donald Rumbelow, and I forget the exact title of it, but it's like one of the more well-known books on the subject. But no, that one I'm gonna have to look for that. Thanks, Ariane. I'll look for that.
Now, see, it's always fun about Jack. I mean, it's one of those famously unsolved mysteries that everyone and their brother comes out with a theory.
That's it. That's why there's the whole romanticism, for want of a better word, about it, because it'll never be solved. I mean, there's 20 different theories out there, and they all sound perfectly reasonable, but it'll never be solved. Never know.
Well, I suppose they could find the memoir diaries of someone and somehow prove that, okay, he had all the evidence, maybe.
But they've done that. They've found diaries and that have been proven to be fake. But I mean, the question is it a hoax, or is that the real diary? Or I mean, Patricia Cornwell did the whole thing on the artist. She brought up all his paintings. She ripped apart all his paintings looking for DNA samples, and she had the most ambiguous, clues and reasons for this artist was, what was his name? Walter Sickle or something like that. Destroyed all his paintings on this subject. It was Jack the Ripper. Just awful, And it sounded reasonable to her. And then there's so many other theories on that. It all makes sense. It all makes it sound reasonable, but we'll never know.
Sure. Alan, I'm going to mute you just for a second because your feedback is getting a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it myself, but here, I'll mute it.
And just when you want to talk, just unmute yourself when you want to talk. So
I was worried that was me with these new earphones, but I guess not.
Yeah. So Alice from Canada.
Another
Canadian.
Hey.
So Zap is here. Everyone, sorry I'm late. The sound is wonky. Yeah, we know. We're working on it. Got the Bookish Bryants. Hello, Bookish Bryants.
Hello.
We got a comment from Gareth. I think Horror Mayhem will be even bigger this year than the year before.
Well, I might have to do that. I might have to get into that. I'm assuming it's in May since it's Mayhem.
Yep, Alan dropped himself out. I think he's trying to fix his sound. Yeah, I mean, we have a Boxer chat and we're talking. I won't get into we're all talking about what kind of prompts and what kind of things we could do to drag more people into Horror Mayhem this year. And there's a couple really good ideas that are coming down. I think that'll be fascinating if we go that route.
See, I like the prompts that MJ did for the Occult Detective, and that's kind of why I came up with those prompts for Holmes is Where the Heart Is, because I just liked the way it was broken up into the 4 weeks. Four different categories, and I like the way she did that, and that was a lot of fun, and it seemed to work really well.
Yeah, well, that's sort of based off what we did for Horror Mayhem past few years. Each week And like the first year we had like classic horror, cosmic horror, monster horror, or something like that. Just, make it really sort of open-ended so you can fit a lot in there.
Yeah, it's just all encompassing,
Yes.
Like for the Holmes one, Pastiche Home, because just you can include so much in that. And Legacy, I mean, God, there's been decades of characters that are influenced by Holmes. So I mean, that's I think they worked well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the pastiche. You're sending me a pastiche book because I've never read one before, but just going through, I've discovered like a pastiche novel written contemporary times with Doyle in my video.
Yeah, you were saying. Yeah. And what was the name of that one again?
Oh,
you remember?
I can't. I'll have to. He's a French. It was written in French, but he couldn't use
Arsène Lupin.
Yeah, Maurice Lupin. That's it.
Yeah.
And he had to do like Sholmes Herlock to get away from copyright, which I think is just hilarious. Hey, Alan.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Hey, I changed positions. I'm gonna get Wi-Fi again. T-Mobile made me mad, and I'll try Xfinity or.
Yeah, it's tough. We're gonna change our provider soon too. I mean, there's a couple we could use, and it's just it's a lot of money for for the service we get. And I think we could get it cheaper and just get the same kind of service that we get now. So yeah, we're gonna look into that.
I know, at least in my neighborhood, you basically had two options for high-speed internet. One was Verizon and one was other Cox. So what we did, we just bundled all of our Wi-Fi and phones to Verizon, and then you get some discounts.
Right.
That's what we're going to do. Yeah. We have Virgin Mobile, and they have an internet service. So that's what we're thinking of doing. Like instead of having Cogeco for our internet and then Virgin Mobile for our phone, we'll just put it all under Virgin Mobile. I think it'd be a lot. Just package it up, like you said. Makes more sense.
And I'll have to think of it because when my wife isn't retired, but she's retiring this year. She does lots of business meetings and she says, I don't want any interruptions to my meetings. So just buy the best plan, the highest download speed that you can get. So we'll think about that once she retires, because what do you need all that high speed internet for,
Yeah.
Well, I do my live stream. So.
Yeah. It's not like you're a gamer or anything.
No.
I see that, Ariane. Haley Rubenhold.
Yeah, there she was. The Haley Rubenhold is the author of The Five.
Yeah, I like The Five. That was really well written.
So what other good Jack the Ripper stories are there that people could recommend?
I must have missed. Did you guys talk about Patricia Cornwell's?
We did talk. We're talking a lot about Patricia Cornwell and how she destroyed all this artist's painting, looking for clues.
Oh,
his name was Sickert, the artist. Yeah, she destroyed all his paintings. Just for no concrete evidence whatsoever, and she found nothing. The most I got from him is that he was obsessed with the victims and Jack the Ripper, and her thing was that he painted pictures of the dead bodies, and she seemed to think that only the Ripper, the killer, would have known that. But he could have paid off some corner to go in and see the bodies, and I mean, there's 5 different ways he could have got those images that he painted. So that was pretty flimsy for her to base.
I never read the book. I mean, but she seemed very confident that she had solved it.
Oh, she did. Every one of them do. every one of these theories. I've watched so many things on Jack the Ripper, and every one of them say this is definitive. We believe that we found the killer, and as I said, they sound yeah, that makes sense. It all works out, but you can't have 20 different stories that are all true. But yeah,
I remember back in the 80s, there was a famous TV series with Michael Caine that said, "We have solved the Jack the Ripper murder."
Michael Caine, really? Wow.
He was the detective, and do you want to know who they said was a murderer? Can we go explain?
Yeah.
Yeah, go there.
They said it was the physician for the royal family.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard that before. And there's a home story too that deals with that. That's Dr. William Gull. William Gull was the doctor, and he was the royal doctor. But in one of the stories, he was covering for Prince Albert or somebody, a member of the royal family, who was basically, his brain was all gone from syphilis, and he was the one going around doing the killing, and the doctor was covering for him. And that's one of the theories. That's one of the major theories as to who the killer was. But that's interesting, and that one makes a lot of sense.
Well, like you said you can make any theory make sense with a little bit of detail.
Yeah. The thing that gets everybody is how did Jack the Ripper get around without anybody seeing him? How did he disappear? You know, and that could explain it. You know, like they were either paid off, or you know, the carriage was there. They're not going to look at two men walking down the street as opposed to one man. There was another theory that it was an off-duty cop who lived in the area, and he used to walk that way to work. And that was on YouTube. I forget the name of it, but that, out of all the theories I've heard, almost made more sense than any of the other ones I've ever seen or read about. I'll have to find that one and look it up. I don't think it was a book or anything. It was like for a documentary, and it was researched.
But when you apply human psychology, the thing is, most people are not very observant. You know,
yeah, they're unreliable.
It's unreliable, and you can get away with a lot by just pretending that you know what you're doing. I remember reading, was it in Norman Mailer's Executioner's Song? It's kind of off topic, but Gary Gilmore would steal beers out of little convenience stores, and the way he stole it, he just grabbed the beer like he knew what he was doing and walked out. And everyone, because he had that thing like, I know what I'm doing. He's just let him go. And when people talk about Jack the Ripper, if you're passing through that area like you belong there, no one's going to pay any, because a lot of times it was done at night. You're tired. It's dark. Yeah. You're just not paying attention. So I honestly think the lowest, the simplest solution is probably the correct one. Though just someone said like there's a Polish butcher who just went around and did it because none of these fancy arguments. He's just a killer that no one paid attention to.
Yeah,
I mean, not a great story, but it's probably the correct one.
Yeah. And back in the day, it was just, I mean, Whitechapel was just, it was just so many people, and nobody paid any attention to anybody. I mean, like you said, you could just walk down the street like you belong there. Nobody's going to pay any attention to you. So yeah, you're probably right. That's why we'll never know.
Yeah. People saying Zap's a Garrett. Old. Thanks, Jim. We covered that.
You're welcome.
We have an excellent lineup for hosts this year for Horror Me. I'm really looking forward to this. We got a good Voxer group going, talking a lot about what we can do for this. Try to bring some people in. I'm participating. Oh, here's Zap. He's participating in the Homes event. That's cool.
Good. Good.
I think we got a lot of people participating.
We need to have some sort of live event to get people together. Somewhere in February.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Right, if we're going to do it like we did for Dr. November, you know, to
We
get
could.
something. Yeah,
We could do it. We could do a weekly live. Each host takes a turn hosting an event, bringing some people in.
I would love that. Yeah, I was really. It was nice to see so many people comment on my videos and just say that they were participating and that they'd never picked up a Sherlock Holmes book before, and they got one just for this, you know, and they were going to read Sherlock Holmes for the first time. I mean, I love hearing that. I thought that was incredible.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I looked at it. My video did okay. I mean, it's not on the high end of watches, but it's not on the low end of the watches either. So you know, hopefully we get some people into it.
I hope so. $160 per month for internet. That's crazy. Everything's just so expensive now. It has gone up $40 the past 18 months. Boy, they see it coming, don't they?
And all of that is just profit taken by the companies.
Yeah. I'm on Amazon Prime up here in Canada, and Jeff Bezos is a multi-billionaire, and they're putting ads on Amazon Prime, and you have to pay money if you don't want to see ads. Really? You need that money that badly?
Yeah, well, you know,
I just want to cut all my streaming services off. I just want to cancel everything except maybe YouTube. You know, it's awful. It really is awful.
Well, you know, the CEOs have to make $100 million a year, you know.
Oh yeah, they need that. They need that spaceship to go up every year. So
yeah, I remember. I'm so old. I remember when YouTube only had one ad before you went on. Now you got to sit through two of them, unless you have the premium, like Greg.
Yeah,
well, I paid for premium. I paid.
Yeah,
for
you guys.
Premium. I got tired of seeing the. Yeah, it was worth it.
It is because, you know, I pay for premium, and then my wife was complaining about her YouTube watching because, you know, she watches on her own device and totally different stuff from me. So she was saying how much with the premium, and you can actually have a family plan for premium where it's not as expensive to put on additional members.
Yeah, I think.
I watch YouTube and I'm always like doing something else, like not reading, but I'll be watching a football game with, you know, muted with the sound off, and I'll have YouTube on, or I'll be doing a picture or something, you know, that way. But I'll sit here with YouTube on and, you know, do something.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
yeah.
My favorite time watching YouTube was actually when I was still working, at home, because I could have my work computer over here and have my iPad over in this corner, and I could do my computer programming and have a YouTube video playing. And every now and then, if someone says something like I'm holding up a book, oh, look over there, and
right.
Well, if I'm editing copy, I just put music on, like without words. Like if I'm listening to somebody talk, it distracts me too much. So I'll put on some of those ambient, you know, like fireplace and a little cozy coffee shop with the jazz music in the background. You know, like I love that. I'll just put them on YouTube in the background. A little candle on.
Yeah, see that?
Just for some ambiance.
Yeah. But the 160, I mean, I don't even pay 160 months for mine. I forgot what mine, it's like 101 or something, but I get like the premium gigabyte downloads. So it's like,
oh yeah,
huge.
Well, it's nice. It's nice to have that. You know, it's nice to have it and not need it, than to have it too low and then you need more. So I don't know.
Well, as I said, we'll have to talk about that once she finally retires and she's not doing those business meetings anymore where it's really important. But
Yeah. When
but
she
I
due for retirement, Greg?
what?
When she due to retire?
5 months. She's end of June.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
Yeah, she's like count. I mean, if she were here, she could tell you how many days she has left to retire.
Yeah, I bet. You guys got plans once she retires?
Yeah, she wants to do a lot of traveling.
Travel the world.
Just because
The beaches of the world.
we don't know what we're gonna do, but she's looking at like cruise ships. You can get really good deals if you book like a week before it sails and they have an extra room available.
Yeah. Did you hear about that cruise that's 3 years long? You go to like around the world 3 years.
That got canceled.
Wow.
Oh, it did get canceled. I heard it's back on though. From what Kelly Ripa, I heard that from on TV. Kelly and Mark.
I would be very hesitant about those.
I wouldn't want to be on a ship for like 3 years. I'm just saying.
I would not either. I've taken cruises, and I think 7 days is about as long as I want to stay on. But I heard a story about a woman who came into a lot of money, like a lottery, or inherited money from like one of those uncles that had no money to do. And what she decided to do was take one of these year-long cruises around the world, to treat herself. And she wound up hating it. And she hated it because those cruises are actually very expensive. And the clientele are very rich people.
Some cruises, I hear, that people who are retired actually just go on cruises, get a cabin on these cruises because it's cheaper than living in some retirement residence. So they basically just, I heard that. I don't know if it's still a thing or not, but that was a thing apparently. It was cheaper to go on.
Make for a good story.
Yeah.
They make for a good story.
Mystery, good Agatha Christie like story.
Well, if you're in the middle of the sea, you have a limited number of suspects.
The
ship.
Yeah.
Unless now here would be one. If you could, how would you dive off a ship and wait to be picked up? If you were like an assassin or something, if you were hired, but then they notice you were off the ship too. So I don't know.
You'd have to some kind of disguise, throw Professor so and so over the side, and then just go melt into the crowd in the ballroom.
Maybe there has to be a cruise ship murder mystery somewhere.
Yeah. Oh well, Agatha Christie did Death on the Nile. It wasn't a cruise ship, but it was on like a boat doing the cruise along the Nile. But I'm sure there's a few out there. Maybe we should write one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Dave was just going through the Sherlock Holmes tome. A Study in Scarlet is the first book. Yeah, that's the first Sherlock Holmes novel. And Book of Shame.
I'll read that first.
Now, what's interesting is that Doyle actually preferred his other novels more than his Sherlock Holmes stories, as I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah. That's why he killed Sherlock Holmes. He said, this is beneath me. I was made for better things. I'm killing off Sherlock Holmes.
Now, do you think he wrote that knowing he had an out?
What's that?
Do you think Doyle wrote that story knowing I have an out if I want an out, or did he think about that afterwards?
No, I think he was done. I think he was done because it was only 3 years within the stories, but it was 10 years in real life. I think he'd had it. He'd had enough, and his mother or his grandmother complained, wanted to see Holmes back, and people were, they were begging for more Holmes stories. And, maybe he needed the money, and he knew that, okay, this is an easy buck, and then he wrote Hound of the Baskervilles, which it didn't bring Sherlock Holmes back, but it was kind of an earlier story that he kind of told. And then he said, hey, this made me a lot of money and it was popular. Let's actually bring him back from the dead. I think he was done with them when him and Moriarty went over the Reichenbach Falls.
Now I know a bit about his like private personal life, and he was into like the occult and fairies and photography.
Yeah.
And that's where he lost a lot of money, right? Somehow.
Yeah, he was made a lot of fun of there at the end of his life because he believed in that stuff. Like he was friends with Harry Houdini, and Harry Houdini didn't believe any of that stuff. Cool.
Yeah,
but he believed in seances and all kinds of stuff. I guess his brother had died in the Boer War or something like that, and he kind of wanted to contact his brother through a seance, and he went a little batty towards the end there, I think, Conan Doyle. And Sherlock Holmes was such a logical character.
I find that just
our feet must.
Did he believe in that stuff when he started Sherlock Holmes, or did that come later in life that he started thinking maybe this is real?
I don't know. I think it probably came later in life because, seances and the occult were such a big thing there in the late 1800s, and I think it was just kind of a faddish thing that he kind of got into there at the end. Because Holmes is such a logical character, and he said in one of the stories, it says, our feet are planted on the ground, no ghosts need apply, and that kind of thing.
I know.
Just, there was none of that supernatural stuff in those stories. There'd be supernatural, things that happen, like Hound of the Baskervilles. It started out as a spectral hound, but it didn't end up that it was.
No, there's always that realistic explanation at the end of.
Yeah. Which is as it should be. Like I'm reading those MX books of Sherlock Holmes, and in the beginning, the foreword, the editor says as much. He says, I saw Sherlock Holmes kind of becoming this watered down character, the supernatural Holmes, the modern Holmes, the broken down Holmes, and he said the point of these stories is to just keep the spirit of the canonical Sherlock Holmes, the true Sherlock Holmes, and not be watered down with all these lesser stories that are everywhere now. They're everywhere.
Well,
he's fighting Lovecraftian horrors and Dracula and the werewolf and all kinds of stuff. And he's modern times and everywhere. He's doing time traveling. That's not Sherlock Holmes. Those are fun stories, but I'm not going to say that that's the true Sherlock Holmes. I read them, but I can separate the two.
You mentioned a few of them on your video. You showed that series, and one was like Holmes and War of the Worlds and Holmes.
Yeah, fighting Martians. Yeah. They're fun, but it's not Sherlock Holmes.
Well. The thing is, you could argue that War of the Worlds is not supernatural, and I would say if you read it,
that's true.
That's really not a supernatural story.
That's true. And back in the day, they thought like they'd look at Mars in the telescope and they'd see these canals on Mars, and they thought they were actually, man-made water, like canals. So people thought back then that there was Martians on Mars. There was actually Martians on the planet living.
Yeah.
So that's not far beyond the pale, I guess, that Holmes would go up against the Martians. And War of the Worlds was such an excellent story. H.G. Wells. Just to pair those two stories up, I think is just awesome. What an epic story that is.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. But they're fun. And I hope people read them. I'm so curious what people are going to read for that.
I've marked them on my Amazon page as something to look for when my 100 book challenge is over. Because some of them on Kindle are like $2.99. I'm going like, okay.
Oh yeah.
For $2.99, I can do it.
Yeah. There's a lot of them.
Indeed. So I'm also curious what people are going to do for the legacy, because the legacy, like I said, is harder to figure out. For at least for me, it's like
It's not really. It's not though. It's not. You have to find a character that uses like deductive reasoning, like Sherlock Holmes does. Not any hard boiled stuff. Although it could be argued that maybe he was the first hard-boiled hero because they are kind of men of action, Sherlock Holmes and Watson. So, I mean, you could argue the fact that, yeah, it's kind of more action than cozy mystery. But, I mean, I have the perfect book in mind for my legacy. I have a couple, actually, but I'm not going to share it now. I'll share it, in a video. But there's so many books out there that you just have to find an eccentric character that uses that deductive reasoning that Holmes is so famous for, and there's a lot out there.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Ellery Queen is the one.
Ellery Queen, yep.
And I have an Ellery Queen. Let me go get this Ellery. It's really kind of.
Yeah, like I remember the TV show with who's Timothy Hutton's father?
Jim Hutton.
Yeah, Jim Hutton.
I was talking to one of my commenters commented on that on my page, and yeah, that was such a good show. I remember that show, and that's kind of how I picture him in my mind as Jim Hutton. Yeah.
So I have this Ellery Queen.
EQ.
That's awesome.
And what's really interesting is I've been reading is that this book was not written by the regular author. It was ghost written by Theodore Sturgeon.
No kidding! Wow.
Yeah.
So.
And I read that one. That's a good book. You know what I think? Whenever I see that title, there was a Batman annual called The Player on the Other Side, and I think it was inspired by that book. Where it's all about opposites. The player on the other side. Yin and yang, and it was kind of fascinating. But that was a good book.
Okay.
I didn't know it was Theodore Sturgeon though. I didn't know that.
Well, that's what it says on some of them, like Wikipedia and things like that. So.
Yeah. Because Ellery Queen was two cousins, Frederick. I forgot their names already. I should know their names, but they were two cousins, and they wrote under the pseudonym Ellery Queen. But then, the later ones, I knew that other authors had kind of taken them over. But Theodore Sturgeon surprised me.
So you think it's a good introduction to Ellery Queen? Okay.
I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Why not?
He went through a lot of changes, Ellery Queen too, because he'd been around so long. So his early stories were a lot like cozy mysteries, and then in the '60s he was more like a traditional detective than a cozy detective. So he's kind of changed with the times, which is good. I mean, he's a flexible character that way.
Yeah. Hold on, let me see.
I think you'll enjoy it.
I want to see when this was written. It was 63.
There you go. Yeah. I'll feature my Ellery Queen books on one of my episodes one of these days. I have a few of them up on the shelf.
Yeah, I sort of feeling that you got really good vintage collections back there.
Well, it's funny. The ones I have, I don't have a lot of the old vintage ones, but I have some later paperbacks with some photo covers on them. And the covers, they're very consistent in style. I've got maybe 15 of them, and they're kind of there's a girl on every cover because it was kind of like the James Bond era, so they had to have a girl on the cover. And they're actually very cool books to have, so I'll show them sometime. And but a lot of those older vintage ones I don't have, like the one you just showed. I have maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
in that little paperback size, which I like.
This was kind of fun. I was visiting Niagara Falls, and they had this little hole in the wall bookstore set in a really rough neighborhood in Niagara Falls. Like, I mean, you don't think, it's a small city, but they have their rough neighborhoods. And I walk into this bookstore, the doors open, and all the lights are off. And I walk in, hello, are you open? He goes, oh yeah, brother, I'm here.
Wow.
And when someone starts calling you brother, it's like you're in for some amusing time.
Yeah.
And he had this old bookstore. The books, just dust everywhere. He never dusted. And he had a selection of new books, and the new books were like from the 90s.
Wow.
Hilarious.
But he had a shelf of this like this for $3. All these old paperbacks, and
I just saw a post from the Mysterious Bookshop on Instagram, and they just got a shipment of like 200 Dell Mapback paperbacks, and they showed a picture of it. Just beautiful books, the little short paperbacks with the map backs, and what I wouldn't give to be there to ruffle through those books. That's a bookshop I want to go to one of these days. I really want to visit the Mysterious Bookshop. Otto Penzler. That's in New York. He owns a bookshop in New York. Yeah. And I've been wanting to go there for years.
I have been telling my wife I want to go to New York City and go to all the bookstores.
Me too.
I know. I've been talking like MJ, people like we want to get like a meeting of booktubers.
I was just going to say we should make a meetup down there in New York again. Go journey through all the bookstores.
We should. Well,
sure.
I know there's going to be a bookstore crawl in Philadelphia in August.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure MJ is going to meet me down there, and we should probably do an announcement saying let's meet up in Philadelphia for whatever, and then meet up in New York, because at least for me, New York is a very good train ride. I can just go down to, they have a good parking garage, like $8 a day to park. It's like, okay, $8.
Oh, yeah.
And then the train,
what? Just park the car, then you just walk for the rest of the day.
You get on the train. Like New York would be like a 5-hour train trip, maybe.
I'm not sure how far it is for me. I'm in Hamilton.
I can't quite.
So I'm gonna Google it.
Well, I can get it right here. Alexa, how far is Hamilton, Canada to New York City?
From Hamilton, New York is 445.1 miles away by car.
445 miles.
Oh boy. That's a bit. Huh.
Yeah.
I could do it.
A little bit.
Well, the thing is, on a train, I don't know, Jim, if you've taken the train a lot, but I took my first train trip up to Philadelphia earlier this year, and it is such a relaxing way to travel. I mean, there's none of the hassle of an airport. There's no massive security people checking all your baggage and going.
I love them trekking trains.
And the seats are they're like a first class plane seat where you have room to spread.
Train ride's expensive though, isn't it? Like they used to be the cheap way to travel, but aren't they expensive now to travel that way? I guess it depends on how far you go.
Depends on how far you go. I think from my place in Virginia to Philadelphia, a 2-hour, 2.5 was like $40 each.
Oh, well, that's not bad. It's not bad.
And some places are cheaper, because I checked, like when I was doing New York last year, it was like $35 from Virginia to New York. And that's
really cool.
That's
I'm
really
hesitant to
Can't beat
I'm
that.
hesitant to take the train from Hamilton to Toronto. My wife's saying that when we go to Toronto, we should take the train, and I'm just hesitant to do it because I hate to, I hate to give up my independence. So I like to be mobile, but I don't know.
well. Here's what thing is. When I was visiting downtown Philadelphia, the traffic was just okay. It's a huge city. It's going to be totally congested, full of traffic.
Yeah, that's Toronto.
And
Yeah.
if you're spending the night, like the hotel was like $40 a night to park.
Wow.
Yeah,
So that's.
it makes sense, doesn't it, to take the train?
I mean, okay.
It could take you an hour to move a block. If there's something going on in Toronto, there's something at the CN Tower or the stadium down there. When you're in a car on the road, it could take you an hour to go from one block to the next. And I hate being stuck in traffic like that.
Yeah.
And you've got no other choice. You're stuck. You're there, right?
Well,
but then, if you take the train and you're just walking, I mean, everything you probably want to get to is within, a good walking distance if you're in shape.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I would have been more willing to walk. My wife wanted to take Uber. You know.
Then you're still stuck in traffic, but then you're not the one driving. You're just.
It wasn't that bad when we were there. I mean, but depending on what's going on, it could be really bad.
Yeah. There's always a game going on down there, or some kind of show going on, or yeah. You guys ever been to Toronto or Hamilton or Canada?
No, I have been to Canada a few times. The thing is,
I've only been to Niagara Falls.
Oh yeah.
I lived on the West Coast for a while, and I loved Victoria and Canada.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It is. You get off and you feel like you're in Europe.
And
it's just
my third son's living out in Vancouver. Like he went out there for a trip. He stayed for 2 weeks, and he says, I love it out here. I want to live out here. So he went out there, and he's been living out there for a couple of years now, and he just loves it. And he puts, he takes pictures of the mountains and little reels and videos and stuff. It's just beautiful out there.
It is. It's a beautiful city. And one of my favorite places, they have this park along the what do you call that? The strait between the U.S. and Canada. It's not quite an ocean, but
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know what it's called though.
I don't know what it's called, but you can. It's not bad. You can see the United States on the other side, but they have this wonderful park. Just to walk around, have your dogs run around, and it's on this prime real estate that if you're in the you'd want to build it up.
Yeah.
But I love that they just built a park. Because how much fun would it be if you lived in there and say, "I'm going down to the park and just sit by the water for an afternoon."
Yeah,
and that's what he does. He does that. He'll just go walk around the park and just take pictures, and he'll wait till it's dark and you see the lights on the water from the city, and he just gets some beautiful shots there. And like you said, the park and the landscape is just beautiful out there. So I can see the appeal for him. I wish he was home, but that's where he wants to be, and he's growing up. So.
Well, believe me, I told my wife I want to move to Victoria, but of course they don't want Americans moving there, but unless you're super wealthy.
We would be happy to have you. I don't know if you'd want to come to Hamilton or not.
Well, my wife is also seriously thinking of taking a trip in the summer, or is it in the fall, where we would be taking a cruise along New England, and we'd hit Nova Scotia and and there's one of the Newfoundland. I've been to both of them, but that was the 80s. I was there in the 80s, so that's a while ago.
Yeah, it's beautiful country out there, though. We talk about just kind of pulling up stakes and moving out east to Nova Scotia or Newfoundland. That's kind of something we love to do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just a dream, but it's beautiful out there. The houses, and you're on the ocean, and yeah, maybe one day.
Well, it's like, I don't know. I know you're currently not working. If your wife's still working, are you ready to retire soon? But it could be a nice place, like you said. You don't have to stay, especially if your children have moved away. Why would you?
Oh, my kid. All the kids are grown. They're doing their own thing, So yeah, there's really nothing keeping us anywhere right now, Oh, Alan's off.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah,
pick the part of the country you want to move to and just move there.
that's a good thing about Canada is it's so big, and there's so much beautiful country. I mean, even out west or the British Columbia, the forests, and yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, like I said, I love the city of Victoria. I really wanted to take a trip around the whole Victoria Island. You drive the circumference and see what it was like, but we moved from Washington State before we got a chance to do that.
Oh yeah, how long ago was that?
I have been living back in Virginia over just about 2 years.
Oh yeah. We visited Quebec City a couple of years back just for a long weekend, kind of. And Quebec City is beautiful. I don't know if you know it at all. But
yeah,
wow.
That was when my wife and I were dating. It was our first vacation together.
Oh, really?
We drove up to Quebec.
Yeah,
because we were living back in Virginia back then, so it was really nice. I remember that. We got to, especially the old part of the city. That's the ancient.
Beautiful. Yeah, and Ile de Orleans. There's like an island that's a short way. Like it's just a kind of an isolated island. You go across the bridge, and it's just like a whole different life on this island. Just beautiful. I bought a couple of paintings. There's a few artists' studios on this island, and there's a cute little bakery and a church, and just wow, what a life that would be. And the Montmorency Falls, the huge falls that are there, just a beautiful country out that way.
It is.
But, old Quebec City, what an amazing place.
Yep. Oh, here's Ariane. Is it the Strait of Juan de Fuca? Yep, I think that's correct. Because hold on, I think I'm going to sneeze. I'm not. Yes, I am. My wife and I rented a B&B on the American side on an island of the Juan de Fuca. And you go out to the B&B and you look at your window, and on the other side of the water is Canada. So it was a really, really beautiful place, and it was an island that you had to take a ferry over to get to. So it was just a beautiful place.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we've been at this an hour and 38 minutes. I think things in the chat room are winding down a bit. So what other comments, either Jim, Alan, you have to say to wrap up the evening?
Well, thanks for turning me on to some new Sherlock Holmes short stories and that. I'll get prepared for February on that.
Nice. Yeah. I'll look for that book. Like I said, I'm not sure if my extra one is volume 1, but if I have volume 1, I'll let you know and I'll send it on.
Yeah. Sure. I love BookTube mail, and I'll get something back to you as well.
Oh yeah, that's no worries. But yeah, you got to have that, Alan. You got to have that volume 1.
Yeah, first one.
I'm still tempted, even though I have the audio and the ebook, to get a very nice hardcover edition of the Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. There's some beautiful books out there.
I know the Michael J.
sure.
Bond, you see it in the back of his video every time. The
Yeah.
Yeah, the one on his shelf with the profile.
Yep.
The annotated Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, I've got that on my shelf too.
Smoking it.
Yep. But there's some nice copies if you want the complete Sherlock Holmes. There's some nice hardcover copies out there. You know, there's even some good paperbacks if you just want them all in a paperback, like in one paperback. I think Wordsworth Classics has a big paperback of the complete stories, and that one's nice to have. And it's got the Sidney Paget illustrations as well. And that's probably still fairly easy to find.
Well, the paperbacks, I think the Bantam, I think it's Bantam, little mass market, are really good. I used to own those. They're actually very useful. That's where I first read Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, they're nice paperbacks. If I want to reread them, I'll go to those paperbacks, even though I have so many copies of them.
Well, you don't want to damage your nice copy by reading.
Yeah.
Oh, Gareth, I'll be starting Finders Keepers. Yeah, I'm getting ready to start Finders Keepers too. That's another book group that I'm in. Gareth.
Oh yeah. I told you I was going to read them. I never got around to reading them. I got Mr. Mercedes I have to read, and I bought Holly. I've got it here beside me, but I'm not sure if I'll get to them.
I'm not positive you have to read them in order. I mean, I am, but I'm not positive you do.
I went to Value Village to look for the others, the sequels, and usually they're there, but I didn't find them, so I'm gonna have to pick them up.
Value, at least, well, we don't have Value Village. We have Goodwill out here.
Yeah,
and you never find anything really good at Goodwill. I don't know if they have a book buyer that looks through all the books donated and pulls out the ones that can be sold on the internet for more than.
Well, I know Value Village, like anything that's older than, like mass market paperbacks, they don't put a lot of them up. Like if it's an older one, they'll just throw them in a big bin and they'll ship it out somewhere, which is frustrating because those are the ones that are collectible and the ones you want to find there. But our local Value Village actually has a pretty good book section. I've got a lot of books there. And we have a Goodwill and a Salvation Army, and there's a store called Feliz. Like there's a lot of them just close by here. And they have good book sections because there's not a lot of used bookstores anymore.
Where I am,
between.
There's nothing. We have one used bookstore, which is okay, but they're more of a high-end used bookstore, and they don't deal with older paperbacks that much. They try to get I call it just high-end books.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of like Civil War nonfiction. Well, considering where I live, that's sort of understandable, but
yeah.
Here's Gareth saying Mr. Mercedes is great. It was a pretty.
Finders Keepers is even better.
Yeah.
See, Alan, you're breaking what I've heard before, saying Mr. Mercedes is better than Finders Keepers. But
the opposite. Finders Keepers is better, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you said, all opinions appear on BookTube somewhere.
I like Stephen King. I haven't really read a bad Stephen King. Ones that could have been better, but I mean, I loved 11/22/63. What a great book that was!
Yeah,
I tore through that one, man. 2 days I read that book, and it's a big, thick book.
Right.
But
I enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it up till the end.
Oh, what? You didn't like the ending?
No, I've mentioned this before that Stephen King really doesn't do his endings very well.
No, he usually bails on the endings. That one I didn't mind though.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't mind that. Yeah, I didn't mind it.
I had a problem with his theory of time travel in the end, where because he changed history, there was earthquakes in California.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a stretch. Like he saved John F.
Makes
Kennedy,
sense
and it's
to me.
because a post-apocalyptic society. Yeah.
Well, I see. I had a theory about that because I guess we're spoiling the end, but we only have 5 people in the audience. That's okay. My theory was that he had to come up with some solution to undo what he did. And if you were to say, write a story where JFK really made America great and was perfect society, you get all these conservatives saying, you're dissing our political views. And if you did the reverse, that JFK made a really horrible society, the liberals would come out and go, oh, no, I don't agree with you. But if it's all because of earthquakes in California, you can't get mad at them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good theory.
He had to please
Makes
everybody,
sense.
not piss anybody off. But when I read a book, I try not to question it too much. I always just kind of go with the flow, give it the benefit of the doubt, and just kind of. So, yeah, time travel's an iffy thing anyway. I mean, there's so many different theories about time travel, but I did enjoy that book.
Well,
A lot.
we all know time travel is really impossible anyway, I think. But the best stories of time travel are the ones that don't try to explain it.
Yeah, we just watched the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour, and basically he laid back in the bed and dreamed himself back to 1912, and that was probably the worst case of time travel I've ever seen. But it was a romance movie. So
I like the
got him where
movie.
he needed to be. Oh, it was a
I
good
agree
movie.
with that movie.
Yeah.
I've been up to talk about islands. I've been up to Sault Ste. Marie, where that was filmed, the Grand Hotel. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
that's
it was
cool.
filmed in Sault Ste. Marie. Really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
no
interesting.
cars.
I didn't know that.
There's no
Yeah.
cars up there. Yeah, take a ferry across.
That hotel was like huge. What a beautiful building that was.
Yeah, the Grand Hotel.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I like that movie.
All right, well, gentlemen, I think it's about time to call it a night.
Well, it's early yet. It's only 10 to 10 here. What are you talking about?
You want to go on? All right, let's go on. Let's pick out another topic and go for another 10, 15 minutes. Then what the hell? Why not?
Yeah, I'm good. How many people are in the audience?
I think there's 4 people in the chat room.
Oh yeah.
So if you're still there, and give us a comment. What would you like to? If there's people there, what would you like to hear us talk about? Hey, Zap said he's still here.
Oh, good. You know what I should have done? I should have told people on my channel that we were doing this. I didn't do that. I guess I should have shared something in
That's
today.
all right. It's all good.
Yeah. But it's been fun. I mean, yeah.
I'm off to eat dinner. I haven't had dinner yet. Yeah.
Well, you're on the West Coast, so it's still early for you.
Mm-hmm.
What time is it there, Alan?
7 o'clock. It'll be 10 of 7.
Okay.
Yeah, the West is the best.
You're like my son then out in Vancouver. When he calls, he's always 3 hours earlier.
Yeah.
And when I talk to him, he always wants to play. He texted me last night and said, "Hey, Dad, do you want to play Red Dead Redemption?" And it was like almost 11 o'clock here. I said, "No, I'm going to bed."
Yeah.
We were trying to get together and play.
Play something like Red Death of what?
It's a video game on PS4. It's a Western video game, and you can go online and play, right? So I've been trying to get together with him and play that, but he's
that'd be cool.
I don't know. He's never home, and then when he wants to play, it's way too late here. So I'm an old guy. I don't stay up late.
I don't stay up that late either. Some people complain about when you get old that you sleep less, but I have not. I sleep through the night just fine.
Oh, good. Yeah. I've slept pretty much. I sleep the same as I always have. I haven't noticed a difference in my sleep patterns so far. Knock on wood.
Yeah, well, you never know what's going to hit. In a few years. Gareth, oh, you play Red Death.
Oh yeah, best game ever. Red Dead, the original Red Dead is the best game. Red Dead 2 is almost as good. I don't know what camp you're in, Gareth. They're both awesome games.
I don't know. I have not played video games in a long time.
Yeah, me either.
What was the last one you played? Was a shooter, monster shooter, where you're running around some?
Oh, I like strategy games like Age of Empires,
Oh yeah,
Seven Kingdoms.
I like the sandbox games where it's just like an open world kind of thing, and you can just walk around and explore the world and that kind of thing. You know, a bit of freedom for that. But I haven't been playing a lot lately, and I try not to. I try to limit, because I'd rather be reading. But every now and then you just want to sit and turn your brain off and play a video game. Yeah.
So Garrett, yeah, I love the first one, but I've been playing the second one a lot. It's long, and I had to start again because my PS4 packed up.
Oh no! Oh, you haven't played through it then, Garrett. Yet you haven't got to the end. See, yeah, you don't want to give spoilers on that game. It's one that you just have to experience and not talk to anybody.
So is that like a shooter game, or is it like a?
It is. It's set in the States in 19. I guess that one's in 1899 or 1910, and it's a free world game. You can explore the map, and you've got weapons, and you can hunt animals, and you do missions and quests and things like that. It's a very immersive. Like the research and the detail on it is amazing. Just amazing. It's and the story is it sets the bar for storylines, actual written stories in a video game. I mean, the characters. I've actually talked to some of the actors who played the characters in the game. I met Rob Wiedoff, who played John Marston, and a couple of the others. I mean, awesome people. But yeah, it's but if you're not into video games, yeah, like you're not really going to be into it. But if you're a game player, you'd be, you would enjoy it if you're into that kind of thing. But
Yeah,
I know not everybody is.
I'm trying to remember the video game title. You're playing some scientist after some sort of catastrophe that brings demons into the world.
Oh, not Doom. Doom?
Not Doom. It's very similar to Doom. Gordon something, you guy with glasses. And
it's an H.P. Lovecraft game. Isn't it a Lovecraftian game?
No, it has a touch of Lovecraft in there, but it's like
it's a horror game.
Right. You're fighting demons.
Yeah.
With
the name of it. But how long ago was that?
Oh, early 2000s. No.
Okay.
I was playing it in when I moved to Washington, so like 2008, something like that.
Yeah. That's
not a whole. I mean, I guess they had multiple player, but I never did that. You just one character running through, and
yeah, they're fun. They're therapeutic. When you have a tough day, you don't feel like doing anything. You just throw a game on, and like I said, turn your brain off. They're fun that way.
Yeah, but I remember the original Doom game was back in the 90s.
Yeah, I didn't have it, but I have played it, and it plays on your it's very horrific, like the sound effects. If you're in a dark room and you're sitting there in front of the screen and you're playing that game, it's like scary. Things jumping out at you, and you got sounds surrounding you, and it's something else.
It was.
Game. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I just sort of stopped playing those after a while because it gets repetitive because you're just walking through and shooting things and
it's a productivity killer, I mean, really in its own way, and that's why I've kind of stepped back from playing them. Like the only way I'll play it now is if I want to connect with my son and he wants to play. He's in Vancouver and he wants to get together. That's probably the only time I play it now, really, because it really is a productivity killer. There's other better things I could be doing with my time, reading or drawing or writing or So you really have to dole out the time for it. You really have to not let it take you over, and that's easy. It's very easy to get addicted to those games.
Well, yeah, I hear about that there are some people who are so addicted that they don't get out. They hook up their bodily functions to.
Yeah, that's the future. That's the future, man. So honestly, plug right into your freaking head is what they'll do. It'll all be virtual reality.
Yeah. Yeah, that and just get a catheter. I'm good.
Yeah, well,
yeah. Awful.
Jeez.
That's the way we're going.
Well, yep, DoorDash and a catheter.
I know all of us remember what life was like before this came in.
Oh, yeah. We were just talking about that, my wife and I. Yeah.
And
we just rely on that so much now.
How much of our lives are really around this thing? And
I find myself carrying it with me through the house. And that's ridiculous. And why am I doing that? Why am I carrying it with me through the house? Because you're I could see myself as an old man in some retirement home, and they take my phone from me, and I'm gonna go like batshit crazy because I don't have my phone.
I know.
It's awful.
That's real. I've experienced that. It goes away, but it's just like with withdrawal. You physically withdraw. Like, where's my cigarettes? Well, where's my phone?
Yeah,
that's
awful. I find myself, I just put it in the other room now. I make a point of setting it down, and I'll just walk away from it. Why am I carrying it with me?
Well, I accidentally left this at home last night when my wife and I went out to dinner. I was sitting on the couch and it was on the table next to me, and my wife said, "We're going to have some leftovers for dinner. She said, you want to go out for pizza instead?" And I go, "Sure, let's go out for pizza." And I just left. I got my shoe, left it on. I got to the restaurant. I was going to check. So I said, "Oh, I left my phone at home."
You're panicking. Where's my phone?
I know, because did I lose it somewhere? And then I checked my watch.
Yeah.
And I had the little icon saying no connection. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's like your heart drops. Wait, where's my phone? Oh shoot! And then you probably did it again. You go, where's my phone again? Oh.
That's the first thing. The first thing you think is, oh my God, I left it somewhere. Where's my phone? I left it somewhere. I dropped out of my pocket, and all your info's on there, your banking information and all your stuff, your connections and your phone numbers. Like, I wouldn't remember any phone numbers. If I lost my phone, I wouldn't remember any phone numbers. It's all in my phone.
I know. It's like, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I don't really remember my wife's phone number.
Me either. Jeez. And I used to know phone numbers. I still remember my grandmother's phone number from way back in the day because I had to memorize it. It wasn't on my phone. 278-4306. I remember.
But
I can't even remember my wife's because I never use it. It's just in my phone.
Well, someone mentioned a video about the things we no longer do anymore. And the thing is, one they said is remember phone numbers. Because it used to be or going to the library and having to sort through a card catalog to find what you were looking for.
Yeah.
I remember then I got back to you know, I remember doing research to a card catalog, and it's like,
Yeah.
but the younger people are going to go, "What's a card catalog?"
I remember I used to be a driver and I used to have all kinds of maps everywhere. I had a whole pile of maps and MapQuest books. You know, now we just have our we lost Greg there.
No, you lost Alan.
Or Alan, sorry, Alan. Maybe went for supper.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, I don't even know where my maps are now. I used to have tons of them, but not anymore. It's all on GPS on your phone.
And the
Which is
map is
handy,
only
but
good for a few years because they make new roads and
yeah, yeah. And the good thing about GPS on your phone is they update constantly. You know, when they make a new road and then they tell you where there's construction or where there might be a traffic cop or something.
I know. I know my wife's car is what, 8 years old now, and the map, the built-in GPS, is now so out of date
Oh,
because they don't
okay.
automatically up. You can pay for updates if you want to.
This is the one that's installed with the car, like in the actual car.
Yes,
I just use my phone now.
I do too.
Like
I
I
have a
got
cell phone, and
yeah,
I've not used it in years.
huh.
Oh,
Well, I guess Alan's gone, eh?
yeah, I'm calling Xfinity tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess we should call it a night then, eh? That's
Yeah.
2 hours. That's pretty good.
2 hours. That's a good one. Well, Jim, thank you so much for showing up. Great to
Oh,
have
thank
you
you.
on.
Yeah,
Lots of fun.
it's been
I'm
great
so
to be
looking
on.
forward to the homes in February. That's going to be a fascinating event. Let's see how many people we can get onto these stories.
Oh, I think we're gonna get a lot of people following and doing it from what I've seen. I'm excited about it, and then, you know, if we can get new people reading the stories, I think that's a great thing.
I think it'd be good too. Now, as I
Yeah,
said, I have to figure out what I'm doing for the short stories. I don't know if I'm going to do a collection. I think I'm just going to randomly pick some stories from all the collections. Just
yeah,
not.
that's not a bad idea. I might do that too. You know, there's a couple of books I have that just do that. Instead of following the books, they'll just have random stories, and I might just do that.
Yep. All right.
Yeah,
Well, again, thanks for showing up, and we will
thank
talk
you.
at least in February again. We got to get on the Voxer and make sure that everyone's wants to do some lives.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'd like that. That'd be nice.
All right.
Well, whoever's left, thanks everybody.
Thank you for watching. I know we said we're going to stop talking for 20 minutes, but here we are. We're really going to stop talking. Have a good night.
Take care, Greg.
Take care.